This is 3D part 2, and in this first of the two video tutorials for this part, we're going to have a look at the query that we're going to need for the report when a category of audio-visual is chosen here and when original equipment is necessary. Now we're going to need to make reference to this form that we created earlier. So you can see I've saved it as selection form, and I'm going to name these two boxes here. So instead of this being named combo 1, it's under all. Instead of it being named combo 1, I'm going to name this category select, and instead of this one being named check 1, I'm going to name it original tick. So we can actually make reference to those fields. Now what I'm going to do is, in order for our query to work, we'll have had to have selected data. So we'll select audio visual and we'll say that we don't want any original equipment selected. So I've now got to create the query that we're going to use that will go alongside this form. So I'm going to create a query in design view, and we need to have a look at what's going to go on there. Well, they want to see a report of camper vans, okay, that include certain categories of chargeable equipment. So they're going to want the camper vans and they're going to want the equipment included. So I'm going to put on all three tables, and we can now use those tables in our query. So first of all, in terms of the camper vans, I'm just going to go for the camper van ID and the registration. And in terms of the installation, well, we need to know certain things. So we need to know whether it's original or not. So that comes from the type. We're going to need to know about whether it's chargeable, and we want to see the list of chargeable equipment. So I'm going to put chargeable on there. We'll need to know a description of the equipment. We'll need to know if it's standard. And we'll also need to know the category, because that's going to be part of our criterion as well. So there's the list of data that we're going to need. So let's have a look at what this looks like so far. Okay, there we go. We've got a list of every piece of installed equipment and all of the caravans. We're not necessarily going to need all of that. Right. So let's carry on and have a look at some of the things that we need to do. First of all, we want this to only be current equipment, so current camper vans. There's no point showing past caravans. So I'm going to put on here disposal date, and I'm going to say that the disposal date must be empty. Let's check that's working so far. There we go. If we have a look, there's nothing there, the disposal date in it. That's good. So it's only showing us the current camper vans. It wants us to show chargeable equipment, so therefore chargeable needs to be true, and let's see how that's working so far. There we go. It's now only showing chargeable equipment. Next depends on what has been selected from the form. So if we have a look at our selection form, our category needs to match whatever the category is here. So therefore our category, let's make it a bit wider so we can fit it in, is going to get data from forms. If we use an exclamation mark, it will then give us the list of forms that are available. So we've got a selection form. We'll use an exclamation mark again, and now we can see the data that's available. So we've got category select. So that has now got to match the category, which at the moment is audio visual. Let's see if that works. Yes, it does. It's only showing us audio visual. Let's just show you this. If we change this now to sat nav, go back to our query, it only shows sat nav stuff. We'll put that back as audio visual. So that was the easy bit so far. Now before I carry on, we'll just save this. I'm going to call it find camper vans. Okay, the next bit is a lot more complicated. It says here that there's going to be a tick box for whether equipment must be original or not. Now it says a report should show camper vans that include at least one item of the equipment category selected. So it will show us camper vans where the category matches. And if the user has selected original, so if it is ticked, then only equipment that is original should be shown. Now that bit on its own would be quite simple, because if I put in here for the type, and we got the type to match the form, what's the tick box on the forms, and watch what happens. So we'll forms, and we're going to go for selection form, and we'll go for the original tick box. Now at the moment it's not ticked, so it shows us anything that's not original. In fact, it's not even that simple, because original isn't a tick, it's not a true box, so it's not showing us it correctly anyway. So we're going to have to use an if statement to say that if that is ticked, then we're going to use original. So we'll use an if statement anyway. So if this is true, so if that is true, then original. Okay, let's have a look. So at the moment it's not ticked and it's not showing anything. If I tick it, let's see what happens. It only shows me original equipment. But what about when I... So it says here, if the user has not selected original, so what do I do if I haven't selected original? Then all equipment in the category selected should be shown, regardless of whether it's original or an upgrade. So it should show everything. Now this would normally be, well, it is indicated by using a wildcard, so I'm going to say otherwise use a wildcard of star. The only issue here is, although it works as the original, if I untick it, it doesn't work because it's looking for the actual star itself. So to use a wildcard, we have to have like. So I'm going to say that we'll have something that is like original or like star. And that will now then say star being anything it will find and use the wildcard. Let's have a look now. It's now showing anything because we haven't ticked original, and so it's showing both upgraded and original equipment. Okay, so that's the query working, and we can now use that query for basis of our report.